Hey there, how's it going? Hope you enjoyed that intro. Today we're going to be talking about practical lighting for a scene and this little tube light that I found that's in the back of the shot here at IKEA. All right, so this is the IKEA Spance. Now I actually got this one, which is 135 centimeters, and I also got another one, which, oh, hang on, sorry. Yeah, so I actually also got a 20 centimeter version of the same thing, exactly the same as that one over there, except just much shorter. It's just a LED tube that runs off a 5-volt USB power. It cannot be unplugged. It's got an on-off switch. There was actually two versions when I was at IKEA, and these ones were on sale. There was an RGB version that you can change into like literally red, green, or blue, not all the different colors. And I looked at that and I thought that's what I was buying when I bought the big one, but I ended up actually buying just the daylight version, which is fine because I think the daylight version looks really good anyway. This runs at 3500 Kelvin, which is on the warmer side of the scale. So when I got it, I wanted a way for it to stand up by itself vertically, like it is now. And it doesn't come with anything in the box to be able to do that. It does come with some wall brackets, so you can put it vertically on a wall or horizontally on a wall, whatever you feel like. It just snaps into place, and they're quite cool. So if you're gonna use it around your house, which is I think what is intended to be used for, as a lamp or a piece of decor around your house, then I'd use those brackets and mount it to a wall or just lean it up against a wall. It's probably another really good way to do it, and it looks quite edgy. So what you would have seen in the intro was me sitting down and fleshing out some ideas to build a stand for this thing to be able to stand vertically. So I jumped on Pinterest online and started to gather some inspiration for ideas. I'm not a carpenter, and I have to stress that. I'm not a carpenter. I do enjoy doing things and building things with my hands, but I thought timber was probably the easiest way to go with something like this. So today I wanted to walk you through the steps in this process in case you wanted to purchase one of these. And you can use the stand just as a lamp for your house, but I'm using it to take with me when I take the light, so I can use the light as a practical in the back of scenes when I'm shooting. So here we go. Step 1, measure and cut. With my timber, I cut two 300mm lengths, and I felt like this was a good balance between being able to handle the leverage that the biggest tube was gonna put on the stand and not take up too much floor space. Looking back on it now, I feel like you probably could have gone a little bit shorter with them, but 300mm seemed fine for me at the time, and I would recommend it. I also cut off two smaller pieces, just little offcuts that we're gonna use later, and we'll show you that then. Step 2, drill. So I found the center of both the 300mm pieces of timber, and I drilled using the hole saw, drilled a hole straight through the middle of both of those. There's lots of different ways that you can actually drill a hole through a piece of timber. I use a hole saw, and I actually used a hole saw that was too small for the job. Basically what happened is there's these little end caps on the bottom of the LED tubes, and I was measuring the diameter of the end cap from the bottom, which meant that I was actually measuring the inside of the end cap because it has a little bevel. So what I would recommend doing is make sure you're measuring from the outside of whatever you're trying to build when you're doing a hole saw, something like this. If you're doing exactly for this kind of item, you're building this exact stand, do not use a 35mm hole saw, drill a bigger hole. It took me like an hour to have to sand out the hole after I drilled it to be able to get the tube to fit through. So I'd go to a 38 or even a 40mm hole saw if you can. Step 3, glue. So now I use my clamp and some wood glue to glue the two longest pieces together, making sure the hole went all the way through both of them. Once that was kind of setting, I put two wood screws through the base of that as well, just to keep it nice and tight. I would definitely recommend, if you're using this type of wood, to drill pilot holes, and I should have definitely also done this, but I didn't. Definitely drill pilot holes, otherwise you will get cracks in your wood, and that's not good. I also glued the two smaller pieces onto the end of the top piece of wood so that there was still 4 points of contact for the stand to be able to stabilize itself. Now, I just used glue for most of these. I did try and put a screw in one of them and it cracked really badly, so I stopped using the screws. I've since dropped the stand accidentally and one of those pieces has come off. So I would recommend using screws, but definitely drill pilot holes and maybe use thinner, smaller screws for this specific application and the edge here, so your timber doesn't crack. Step number 4, sand. Once everything's dry, I gave the whole thing a quick sand to make sure it was all smooth. I wasn't paying too much attention to what it looked like evenly around the whole thing. I was just kind of making sure that there was no really sharp edges so that when I picked it up, it wasn't uncomfortable. Step number 5, paint. After it had been sanded, I gave it a few quick coats of black spray paint. Now, I did this to prevent it from reflecting too much light if I was using it on set, but also it just looked a little bit more aesthetically pleasing because it matched the black caps that are on the end of the base. That's the whole process. Only 5 steps to create a base to be able to get this thing to stand up vertically. But now we're going to move on to talking about practical lighting. Practical lighting is considered any form of light where the source is in frame. So as you can see, obviously this one here is a practical light. So practical lights can be anything. Lamps are a really common one because they're a common item, but you can use a candle, a phone, a TV, headlights, street lights, a torch, whatever it is, as long as it's in the frame and it's also producing its own light, it is the source, it is counted as a practical light. I just want to show you examples from a few shots of some of my favorite movies where practical lights are used in the background, and we're just going to circle them out so you can get a better idea of what they might look like in a movie. Something you probably don't even pay attention to, but they're definitely there. So let's have a quick look at those. All right, let's jump into the first one. So this is from Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, 2008. You wouldn't even notice it, but those lights in the ceiling, because you can see them and they're also producing light, they count as a practical. Inception, when he's walking through that dark room where all the people are in the dream land, they have these hanging bulbs and stuff. That atmosphere, right? So you can see some in the background there. On the back behind Russell Crowe there on the wall, there's a little light that's on the side of a house. Inside the house, this is nice guys again. We've got a few lamps, so there's a lamp there, and then there's also a hanging light which is in the frame. Both practicals. We've got the classic, there's a lamp there. Computer screen's also giving off a small amount of light, so technically you could call it a practical, but it's probably not doing a lot to the scene. He's got a lamp on his desk as well, so lamps are a very common one. Another lamp. There's also a ceiling light in the back of this shot that would be considered a practical as well. They're just a few examples from common movies of what a practical is in the scene. Now we're going to be talking about why practicals are important and how practicals are used to help the story. So there are 2 main reasons practical lights are used in filmmaking. Number 1, they help suspend audience disbelief. It's easier to justify a scene being lit a certain way if there's a practical in the scene that the audience can connect with that helps motivate that lighting style. For example, if we take a look at that Dark Knight shot with the lamp on the desk, we can see that he's also being lit from the exact same side. Now the lighting in this scene would not have been coming from the lamp, but because there's a lamp there, we understand and it makes sense that his face would be lit from that left side. Now this can work in twofold. It can actually really help the audience engage, or it can be really distracting. If I was to put a practical in my scene on this side, that was a yellow lamp, but then light from this side, that's a white light, it would actually be more distracting because it wouldn't make any sense. The other reason practical lighting is helpful is it helps to create a depth in a scene. So placing practicals at various depths throughout your scene actually helps enhance the audience's perspective of the space that your character or your actor's in. I think for me, visually speaking, I like the look of what a practical light does to a scene as well, creating that depth, especially with a nice shallow depth of field shot where the background's all blurred and the practicals look like a bokeh or bokeh or however you want to say it, those small little out of focus dots. So practicals are pretty cool and they're obviously very useful to help engage the audience and to tell a better story, but I want to talk about why specifically this light is not a video light. The reason I don't think this light is intended for video use is for 2 reasons. A, it came from IKEA. IKEA is a homeware shop. They don't produce video lights, and that's fair enough. This is a piece of decor, obviously intended. It's very cool, I like it. I would actually have it in my house. I think it's awesome. I'm gonna put it in my office probably when I'm not using it on shoots. B, it does not list a CRI rating on any of their packaging, on their website, or anywhere online that I can find. So CRI is an acronym. It stands for Color Rendering Index. It's a scale from 0 to 100 that lights are measured on based on the accuracy of the color they produce. Again, this light was 35 Australian dollars, so it's not the most expensive piece of equipment in the world, and cheaper LEDs generally have a lower CRI rating. When you go up to something like a Nan light or a Quavo Science tube, they're obviously using much higher quality LEDs and and they have a CRI rating that is suitable for video that spans to the 95 plus range. I don't hate it. I think it's a really good asset to have in your kit to be able to pull out a tube light and add it as an accent in the background. Thanks for watching. If you want more details about the stand that I built for this LED tube, you can click the link in the description, and there's a bit of a write-up about exactly the steps with some photos, etc. as well. So if you prefer to read than watch a video again, do that, go read. The second thing is there's 2 links down there about practical lighting and about CRI rating, 2 articles that I found which really helped me kind of understand it a little bit more. So go check them out as well. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe and hit that little bell icon so you get notified when I upload again. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what your favorite pizza topping is. I'm a big fan of pineapple. In fact, I'd have a pizza with just pineapple on it. Just raw dough and pineapple. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day. If you don't have a sound blanket, get yourself a fluffy dog and just let him sit near you while you're recording, and he absorbs a lot of the sound. So CRI stands for cholera. Cholera? Why? Cholera? Color. What am I doing? It's basically a sail. A sail? What? A scale, bro. Nope. That's wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Buy my shirt. Oh.